Hi, I'm Ben Pascoe for learningsurfphotography.com. I'm going to do a quick roundup of my experience with the Sigma 150 to 600mm contemporary f5 to f6.3 DG lens. So a little bit of background. I use the A6000 as my camera for surf photography. I really like it. It's small, compact, has a lot of great features which the DSLRs I was using, the Canon 60D, 70D, 7D don't have. So I've fully transitioned over to A6000 for all my surf photography. The one kind of missing link in the Sony E-mount lens range is a really long telephoto lens. So the longest native E-mount lens is a 70 to 300 that Sony make. It's pretty pricey. Apparently it's pretty good, but I wanted to go for a longer focal length, and I figured I'd do some research, find the best options for the A6000 body for shooting from the beach for surf photography. So after quite a bit of research, reading forum posts and looking at YouTube, looking at what other surf photographers were using, I ended up going for the Sigma 150 to 600mm contemporary version. So they make a sports version as well, which is more expensive, bigger, heavier, better quality, but the contemporary gets good reviews. To skip ahead a bit, I've been really happy with the image quality, so it's still a beast, even though it's a bit smaller. Let's run you quickly through what you get in the package. So it's about $990. You've got the lens itself. You don't get this adapter, which I'll talk about in a moment. You get the lens hood. You get a nice box with some instructions and warranty and things like that. And you get a case. This case fits the lens, but you can't fit a camera body on the back of it. Not even a Sony A6000, which is tiny and slim and quite a bit smaller than a Canon DSLR, which is what the other kind of cameras that you'd be using this lens with. They do make a Nikon version and a Canon version and a Sigma version, I think. I'm talking about the lens mount here. This is the Canon EF version. And I bought the Canon EF because they make this Sigma, it's called the MC11 mount converter. So what that does is it allows you to put select few Sigma lenses that are made with a Canon EF mount on one end and any Sony E-mount camera like the A6000 on the other end. A lot of people are using this for other lenses like Canon lenses, Canon branded lenses, but Sigma are very clear that it only officially supports a select few Sigma lenses, and this is one of them. So I've paired these two together, and in terms of autofocus performance and just information being passed through to the camera body and other issues that you might have come across with other adapters, I had no problems at all. I'll put a little bit of video up of it's a pretty sketchy video because I shot it on my phone looking through the viewfinder of the A6000 whilst I was shooting some surfing. I'm afraid the surfing isn't great high performance necessarily, but it gives you an idea of the kind of performance of the lens. It was very, very similar to the performance of my Sony 55 to 210mm lens, which is what I had been using up to this point. And that was a full 600mm extension of this lens. Wow. So on that occasion I was shooting on a tripod on the beach, but I have used it handheld. Went to the British National Surf Championships, and I did have a tripod, but to be honest, I wanted to move around quite a bit. It was at a beach called Perranporth here in the UK, and there's some nice rocks you can get on when the tide's low enough, so you can get some different angles. And I wanted to be kind of mobile, flexible, so I put the tripod away and I just shot handheld. You can hold it like this. Obviously, let me put the A6000 camera body on the back. You'll probably read in the forums, like I did, that some people are saying, I don't know how you can use a big telephoto lens like this on such a small camera. It feels so unbalanced. And you can probably see that, it's not, if you imagine a big DSLR, like a pro style DSLR body, it's like twice the size of this camera. I suppose, it's kind of balanced, but this is a lot lighter. You get very much used to it. You hold it with this hand anyway. It's not really a problem. So ignore anyone who says that. You'll get used to it in no time. it works really well. I think the adapter works. I did update the firmware. I've updated it twice, in fact. So the MC11 adapter, you just plug it in with USB and you can update that using the Sigma software. I'll show you some screen capture of the software in action. And then to update the firmware on the lens, you do need an extra accessory. So you've got $990 for the lens. You've got about $250 for the MC11 adapter. And then you've got about $60 for this USB dock, which you can use with any Sigma Canon EF mount lens, any of the modern lenses that are compatible with it, obviously. And you just clip the lens on. This one plugs into USB, and then you can update the firmware on the lens. And like I say, I've updated it twice. I've only had it for a couple of months. And I noticed like the first couple of times I tried it, it would lose focus sometimes, very occasionally. I'll try and show you a sequence of when it did that. This native E-mount lens hasn't done that, so there is a bit of a gap in performance there, but that's definitely improved since I updated the firmware, and I don't think it happened at all on the last time I used it. I took it out to Wales and shot quite a few photos with it there. Kind of got down to the water's edge and got some close-ups. But yeah, I mean, my style of surf photography, if I can call it that, really doesn't revolve around standing on the beach for long periods of time in near enough one place. So I don't really get on with using a tripod or even a monopod. I'd much rather be mobile, climb up and down rocks, getting different angles. And if possible, I'd rather be able to put the whole thing in my pocket, a pocket of my jacket, say. And this thing, obviously you can't do that. The weight's not too bad. Did hand hold it for a good probably hour and a half, 2 hours at the British Nationals as I wandered around. So if your surf photography involves taking photos from the beach and you need to get in close, so say you work for a surf school or anything like that, anything where you need to take photos of a broad area of beach from a long way away and you're going to be positioned in one position, if you're using the A6000, this is a really good option. I think it's one of the few options that's not ridiculously expensive. You can get some big prime faster lenses for sports like the Canon 600mm L series and things like that, which I have used before once on a surf workshop, and it's giant. I'll show you some pictures of the setup. This thing's going to give you comparable images, not as good. Definitely not as good, but still really good. Perfectly acceptable for printing to A4, no problem. I don't think you'd have any worries getting these, if you're doing it for larger prints than that, I don't think you'd have any problem. The larger the print, the further away you're going to stand, so it's not really going to make much difference. The center of the image is sharp all the way through to 600mm. And I'm not going to do a full technical review here because I'm more about the experience of it, and the end results were really, really good. But in my personal opinion, for my style of surf photography, I decided that this is too big, too heavy, and I wasn't going to be carrying it around very much. So I'm actually going to sell this on. I don't think I'm going to keep it. If you're one of those people who, like I say, you work for a surf school or you cover competitions for a magazine or something like that, this is a really, really great option. I think the autofocus works really well, especially with the latest firmware. It's built really well, it looks really nice. It's relative for a 600mm lens, it's relatively compact. I used my regular Manfrotto tripod legs with a cheap Velbon fluid head to shoot video with it, even at 600mm, and that came out okay. That was kind of hastily set up in the dunes above the beach one morning, so I think if you set it up properly, especially if you had spent a bit more on a more substantial fluid head for your tripod, then I think you could get really smooth video with this as well. The image stabilization that's built in, I mean to mention, is great, works really well. The adapter passes that through to the camera no problem, which is awesome for video, and for stills you kind of half press to activate that, and then you can track the surfer through the eyepiece, through the viewfinder really easily like that. So yeah, really, really good. But like I say, I'm not going to be using it in the future, I don't think, because it doesn't really fit in with my style of photography. So you might be wondering, what am I going to be using instead? Well, I've tried out a few different options, and I've put these all in the blog post on learningsurfphotography.com. But the one I've come back to now is the 55 to 210mm. So that actually fits in my jacket pocket, no problem. It's a normal size jacket pocket, so nothing outrageous. So I can fit that in my pocket. I can take that out anytime I like, take a few photos. 55 to 210mm, it's a pretty good range. And what I've done is I've added this Olympus. It's called a T-Con 17X. I'll put a link below so you can see all about this. There'll be any questions or anything, give me a shout underneath in the comments or email ben@learningsurfphotography.com. But I'll put a link below, you can't miss it, it's pretty great. It's $140 odd at the moment. And essentially what it is it's an extender originally designed for super zoom cameras. So it screws onto the end of your lens. You don't lose any stops of light or autofocus or image stabilization, which this lens has all of those. So you don't lose any of those capabilities. All it does is extends it by 1.7 times. So 210mm becomes 370 something mil. I think I'll do the sums and put it up, which is pretty reasonable, I think, for my use anyway. I've been using it a lot. So a couple of times I took these down to the beach. I did some side-by-side shots on a tripod, printed them out 5x7. I had to crop this one to match the 600mm of that. And they look close enough to me. I could tell the difference, and the Sigma was better, 100%, you could tell. But in the center of the image especially, there's not much in it. Hardly anything at all at that 5x7 size. I'd say if you put this Sigma lens at the kind of 370mm mark and take the same photo, then it's definitely better. So at 600mm you do lose a bit of the sharpness of the Sigma. But for my purposes, which is generally, I'm printing no bigger than A4 basically, and I'm not shooting professionally. No one's going to be blowing these up to be wall displays anywhere in shops or anything. I think with the resolution of the camera, 24 megapixels, and the 1.7 times extender, this is going to give me all the reach I need for shooting surf photography. That one fits in one pocket, this one fits in the other. If I need the extra reach, I'll show you how simple it is to screw it on. Before I mention that, there is actually a slight catch. There's, you need I can't even unscrew it now because I've screwed it on a couple of times. It's a 49 to 55mm step-up ring. The thread on the end of the lens is 49mm, and the thread on the back of the T-Con 17X is 55mm. So you just need a little metal ring that connects the two. It's about $7. So I picked one of them up, and that's it. It just screws on like this. Use your rocket blower to blow out any dust or sand or anything that gets in there. Simple as that. So it doesn't look, it looks a bit funny, but this combo, this is my new combo for shooting telephoto surf photography. Small, it's light, it's cheap. The 55 to 210 it's about $250. So you pay about the same for this lens as you do for the converter, only the converter for the Sigma system. So, and then you've got the 55mm as well, all the way through to the 370, whatever it is, when you put this tele converter on. So I think in terms of value, you can't go far wrong with this setup. And in terms of performance, and if you've got the money to spend and you really need to get those photos from a really long distance, then the Sigma is a really great option. I think for the a6000, until the Sony or someone else releases a native E-mount long telephoto lens, the Sigma Contemporary with the MC11 adapter is probably going to be the best option. So that wraps that up. You can now shoot super telephoto with your Sony a6000. If you want to check out any other of my videos, I've got a nice video on the Samyang 8mm fisheye. So just to cover all the focal lengths, 600 to 8mm. Check that out, and yeah, head to learningsurfphotography.com for a full breakdown, links to all of the different pieces, and a bit more detail with some sample photos. Any of the photos I've popped up here, I'll put them there. You can check out the differences and the details. That's great. Thanks very much.